Hey guys, Danny James here, and in this video I'm going to be showing you everything you need to know about masking in Premiere Pro and After Effects. Let's jump into it. I have some clips on my timeline here and I want us to begin by masking out the subject in this frame. We can mask on the same clip, but for safety I just want to duplicate this layer and add a frame hold. That way we have a continuous frame of the subject. To begin masking the subject, we need to go to our effect controls. If you can't find it, go to window and ensure effect controls is enabled. Then go to opacity, click on this free draw bezier, and once you click on it, it shows you some options which you can later tweak after we've masked out the subject. Go to the program window, double click on it so that it goes on full screen. Then you can use the drop down menu on your left to zoom in and to zoom out so that you are closer to the subject. So I'll go at 150%. On your right, I recommend putting to full resolution. That way you can see every detail of the picture. Now we can begin masking. I'll start right at the bottom, create one mark here, and then I'll create a second one here, but as I click, I will also drag. Once you've created such a point like that, it means you can come back to these two sides and influence the angling. Next, I'll click here just once so that it doesn't create an anchor point that can be adjusted. And once you click it once, it means you can come back to that anchor point and push it downwards or upwards if you feel like it. Whenever you need to create an anchor point that bends, hold on to it while you're dragging. Okay, I'll do the same going around the subject. Like at this point, I'll click and drag just a little so that we have that angling. And then I will click again and drag. And this is what you want to watch out when you're trying to mask out the teeny tiny details. And since I want to add another anchor point right here and it doesn't really allow me, I'll add an anchor point right there. And then I'll come and click on it and drag it and place it there. And then you can continue clicking and dragging in case you need to add an anchor point that needs to swivel and twist around. Afterwards, you can come back to that anchor point and push it closer, and then you can adjust these anchor points to affect how it aligns with the subject. I'll just keep on doing the same thing that I've showed you, going around the subject. This goes without mentioning, Ctrl Z should be your best friend here. In case you make anchor points that you don't like, just hit Ctrl Z and do it again, going around the subject. Yeah. I'll drop down my zooming to 150% as I finish this selection. From right here, I might want to curve around, but once I've created these 2 points, if I try to move any one of them just by clicking and dragging, you can see it also affects the other side. So what you want to do, you want to hold Alt while dragging this point, so that it only affects that point as it curves around. I can do the same on this side, hold Alt while dragging either of those points so that it doesn't move the whole anchor points from the previous one. Like here, I might click and drag it, but I also want to cover this space here. If I try moving this anchor point like this, you can see it also affects the previous anchor point. It's better when you hold Alt and try to move this point, and then just go around and you can finish this mask. And then we'll go through the nuts and then drop down, and then you can join that. Afterwards, click here and put it back to fit so that you can see what you've masked out. Double click to get out of the full screen. Come to your masking tools. We can hide the layer that is below so that you can see what you are doing. I think our selection looks really good. We've been really patient with it and we've given it some good amount of time considering I'm recording this tutorial. Adjust these feathering settings. I usually recommend leaving it at around 10, and then the mask opacity determines how much of this mask gets to be exposed or seen. Mask expansion allows you to expand what you've selected, whether outwards or inwards. And then here at inverted is where you get to choose whether you want to select the subject or you want to choose everything but the subject. So I can click on invert to choose everything but the subject in that frame. And that's basically it with masking inside of Premiere. We'll take this clip to After Effects. I want us to mask out something a bit more different from what you just did. Let's mask out the car and the subject in this frame. I will right click and replace that with an After Effects comp. On After Effects, we're going to find the point that we wanted to mask, which is right about here. And then here's our pen tool right above here. When you click on it once, you get the pen tool. But if you click on it and hold, you'll see some more options. I will explain what they do later on. With your pen tool, make sure to have clicked on the clip before you begin masking. Because if you don't, what happens if you haven't clicked on your clip and you begin masking, it starts forming a shape layer, which you can see right here below. I will undo that. Make sure to click on the clip and then begin masking. So you can use your scroll wheel on your mouse to zoom in and out. You can use spacebar to use your hand to pan around the image. Let's begin somewhere here. Create our first point. Create our second point. As I showed you in Premiere, you can click and drag to add those points and make them curve around. I feel like there is a bit of more control with After Effects compared to Premiere. And as I told you, Ctrl-Z should be your best friend. Hold Alt with this point to stretch it out. Go around the side mirror. Click and drag like that, as I showed you in Premiere. Now I want to show you about these other tools that you can see under the pen tool. Let's create a few points like these here. Once you come back to your pen tool, click and hold. You can see these options. You can add a vertex, you can delete one, and you can also convert a vertex tool. An add vertex tool works like this. If you come to the middle of any of the anchor points and you want to add an anchor point, you can see the pen tool has this plus sign. It means you can add another vertex or another anchor point. Similarly, you can be on this delete vertex tool to delete an anchor point that you don't necessarily need again. So that's how you use this delete vertex tool. I will undo that. The convert vertex tool will convert the anchor point from the normal anchor point to an anchor point which you can adjust the curving. If I click here once, you can see it gives us these two options. Let me undo that again. So these are normal anchor points. If we convert them by clicking once here, you can see it gives us these points that you can adjust the curvature with. If you're not interested in these curving options, just come back to the convert vertex tool, click on that anchor point, and it will become a normal anchor point. Come back to your pen tool and go around your subject. Coming back to add anchor points here, we have a different color for the masking, which means it has created another mask. Undo that. Go to your clip, hit M, click on the mask, okay? And then you can take your selection tool if you need and highlight on just one anchor point. Then come back to your pen tool and it should go on normally. Like right here, I can also take my selection tool and highlight on several anchor points and move them all at once, like that. I'll go around the subject real quick. What I usually do around the subject's faces and head, I create as many anchor points as I can, just to be a little bit more specific. Connect that mask back again, come back to my selection tool, and now we can see what we've selected. Now what I didn't show you on Premiere is how to track the mask if you need to track it going forward. On your mask, you can click on none so that you can see everything all at once, and then you can right click on this mask and track. If you can't see anything happening, it's because you don't have your tracking window open. Just go to window and ensure tracker is enabled. Make sure you can see the tracker tab right here. Click on the mask again, and then if you come back to this tracker, you should be able to select frame by frame, or you can let the software do the work itself. So if I play here, click on play, it will track this mask going forward using the best judgment it can. So I'll click on play. I'll stop it right here. For this kind of selection whereby the subject moves around and their hands and all that, you will really need to use rotoscoping because it's more effective that way. So for example, if we are done tracking the mask, we can click here and set it on add to see our mask and how it moves. You can put it on subtract to choose everything in the frame but that subject. So those are some of the things that you need to look out for. Under the mask, if you click on this drop down menu, you'll find your options for the feathering and expansion and all that, which are more or less the same features that we saw on Premiere. And yeah, that's generally it. If you made it this far, thank you for watching this video. I really appreciate you. I did this video primarily because I don't show the step-by-step of masking whenever I do them tutorials. So hopefully you found everything you needed to know in this video. My name is Danny James. See you on the next tutorial. Peace.